so it's a little cringy watching the emphasis put on their deaths when they ultimately do die, because this manga is really Suicide Squad the movie given an anime twist. Hey, what's good with y'all niggas, man? It is 2023, the start of a new year. It's not be corny this year. There should be no such thing as a New Year's resolution. You should have been on your shit since 2022 and before that, my nigga. But every time we revolve around this fucking sun, I feel older, and I come to more realizations, and I gain more wisdom, and I run into more epiphanies. And you know, now Chainsaw Man got an issue, and I'm using the entirety of this video to talk about it. It's an issue I noticed a little bit ago after the first well-paced 20 chapters that got me hooked. And I'm not gonna string your ass along to minute 4 to find this bullshit out. I'm gonna just come right out with it. It's paced poorly, my nigga. It felt so fucking rushed. Some of these battles were epic, very climatic, end of the arc worthy battles, but in Chainsaw Man, we kinda just brushed over them. I tried my hardest to love Chainsaw Man. I want to be one of the cool kids who had Chainsaw Man in the top 5, who worshipped the mangaka and waited like a dope fiend for the next chapter. That, folks, is not I. I can confidently say, without a shadow of a doubt, that middle chunk of the series was paced poorly. The only thing keeping me interested were the crumbs of the overarching mystery dropped chapter to chapter about what Makima really was and what Chainsaw Man really is. In other words, the story led me on and manipulated me to catch all the way up. With its short, rushed, bite-sized chapters, none of the character deaths carried weight because they were introduced 1 hour ago and did now 1 hour later. 5 chapters of this is the equivalent to 1 chapter of Death Note, or 1 chapter during the Greed Island arc of Hunter x Hunter. Yes, the characters may have been introduced 20 to 30 chapters ago, but we get no attachment to them, so it's a little cringy watching the emphasis put on their deaths when they ultimately do die, because this manga is really Suicide Squad the movie given an anime twist. When motherfuckers die in this series, I think, well, what was that person's name again? It may just be me being forgetful and shit, but I don't have this same issue with other manga or pieces of literature, so I'm gonna blame it on the manga itself and not me. Definitely not a personal problem, but a plot problem. I keep feeling like I'm missing something, when in fact it isn't I who missed a thing at all, but the author. He needs a lesson on pacing, and this is an ailment all of the series have been plagued with, from his debut one-shot to Fire Punch, then ultimately Chainsaw Man. A story with a brilliant basis but fell flat because the author lacked the patience to create the suspense needed to make some of these legendary moments actually legendary. I do acknowledge the fact that the story can still possibly be in its infancy, but as of chapter 73, the impact of these deaths have been none to zero. What is keeping me tied to the story is what Pochita is hiding from Denji in his dreams, and why all the fiends heard a chainsaw rip before they remember life. And also, why does everyone want Makima dead? These 3 droplets have kept me on the Chainsaw Man fan train, but soon I'm gonna be like Power and just lie about finishing it, because I won't. This series was hyped up by so many people. The issue with the story itself is that it does not allow enough time for each character that was so seemingly important to be fleshed out. He reminds me of my younger self while story writing. I come up with a great manga idea, I run over to my drawing notebook to make some quick character designs, some quick character bios, a cool design for the manga title, knowing I indeed created a great premise for a story, and I wanted to breathe life into this story as soon as possible. I was too quick and eager to bring the story to life, and it became a race to complete an interesting story instead of truly make one, resulting in me haphazardly performing the art of story writing that encapsulates the plot, mystery, world building, and character development. Don't get me wrong, the first chapter did a great job of laying the foundation for everything needed to make a revolutionary work of fiction. The MC's goals were clear and said, a bit juvenile, but this in and of itself aided in the plot. The adversaries and hardships the MC was facing was established. Even the backstory of the MC was delved into. But that is it. The first chapters were very interesting because everything foreign and new was interesting. Though I did get vibes from other popular anime/manga from this series, it's not a huge issue because at this point, with so many cult hits being out, it's really hard to come up with a completely fresh idea. But shout out to Promised Neverland though, because they indeed did that. But I will say this. Chainsaw Man did a great job at presenting the reader to an extremely alien world and making us feel comfortable in it rather quickly. Because of the MC's very childlike personality and simple dreams. Gives him a strange alluring quality of likability. We instantly like him and truly want to see him win. We also want to see him grow, and I do applaud the series on the fact that the MC does mature. He wants food, shelter, safety, and love, and he is satisfied with the extreme basics of all of these things. We find comfort in the fact that these dreams aren't extremely grandiose and interesting, but something very attainable. On the flip side, look at the real world we live in. After we mature in this harsh world, we start to understand the sheer amount of blood, sweat, and tears needed to attain grandiose dreams. That's why we kind of get a little uncomfortable when somebody spouts very grandiose dreams, while also being much more naive about the world than you would be. Look at how people looked at Naruto when he wanted to become Hokage. Shit, look at how parents look at their kids when they say they want to be a professional ball player or astronaut. Of course, it's probably just harmless, good-natured daydreaming, but most adults have already been institutionalized by the hard lessons taught by this world. As a reader, we are presented with this cruel, foreign world. Evidently, this world has battered our MC, but he somehow retains his innocence and doesn't swing to the other extreme of spite and malice, thus hating the cold world around him, unlike, these guys. I actually appreciate that he retains his forgiving nature and innocence, because it magnifies the sadness of his misgivings. By the start of the story, only having one eye, one kidney, and one testicle. That is tough. The nigga only has half the phone with his right hand. It's very tough, bro. And he also has a hit out for him by the mob, because his dad didn't leave him inheritances, but debts. But this goes twofold for Denji, because he was accustomed to a nightmarish experience, a kid that makes a living cutting trees, doing odd jobs, and dropping off devils for the same mob that not only put him in his mess, but killed him. Denji is truly a retarded, obedient lapdog. Kick him, and he will come running right back, whimpering and wagging his tail. What could truly help the story is either slow down to the action so we can actually feel the weight of each situation, more mini fights so we can flesh out the concepts like the restraints placed on devil hunters and their contracts with devils, or simply more flashbacks showing us more details on what can truly be done with these devil contracts, because a fight with a darkness devil mixed with Santa Claus, mixed with Kobanai also wanting Mikima dead, was confusing. I could be overzealous in making these claims and more answers could possibly be delivered soon with the next coming chapters, but I don't feel safe trying to sit and grasp the whole situation with so many underdefined and undefined moving parts. Quan Si, I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Quan Si, hey, heads up, I'm gonna be butchering a lot of these fucking names, so don't be trying to hold me. Pulls up to assassinate Denji. I understand she's a demon who can probably wax everyone, but her importance in the story fell flat because we didn't spend enough time watching her, and her fiends didn't make anything better. We really didn't get much out of them until they need to use their powers, and even by then, we didn't even remember their names because I know I didn't. The fights are hard, the art is cold, the mystery is great enough, but the progression of the plot is irresponsible. Like, I'm being taught a class by a college professor that assumes we know all the basics when we don't. Of course, the author knew what was going on, because he has crafted a story and has decided to show how it ends. But we as readers don't truly know what story it is he is trying to craft. So along the way, it is his responsibility. He needs to make sure we understand it, or it runs the risk of falling flat once we get to the conclusion that the author is so excited for us to read. By the end, the author would be smiling ear to ear like, "So, how was it?" And the readers left like, "That was hard, but let me go back and reread if you see what I mean." A reaction I'm sure the mangaka wasn't really shooting for. No one likes to feel like they don't know what is going on. Like when everyone in the room is laughing and you have no idea why. The feeling that everyone else is getting the clue, but you are not. Mob Psycho, one of the coldest animes of all time, dives deeper into this with an aloof and absent-minded MC, Mob, that works for a swindler, Reagan. And Mob, throughout the show, through his social interactions, fails and struggles to get a clue, or realize the weights and repercussions of the social interactions with his peers, and how these current interactions will affect his future ones. Mob, being as socially awkward as he is, lacks social grace, and is notorious for making interactions painfully awkward for himself and the others involved. This is a vicious negative reinforcement cycle for him, so others avoid him to protect themselves from a painfully awkward social experience. Mob, a genius Esper, and Denji, the genius socially undeveloped devil hunter. Though this comparison is not perfect, because Mob has had the opportunity through his youth to develop his social skills, Denji on the other hand was deprived of a real childhood, so he was never given the opportunity to develop as someone of his age would. However, if things were slowed down in Chainsaw Man, it would have been very rewarding to see Denji battle with his struggles socially, then ultimately overcome them. Cause Buddy still thinks and dreams like a kid, and that's an issue cause childish men are never respected, and in the eyes of society, a mark of a well-developed man is the accumulation and the expression of all the leadership qualities he has garnered over the span of his lifetime. I know it's 2022 and we are trying to bend gender roles and shit, but even in today's world, a heterosexual man is expected to be a masculine man, point blank. And a masculine man is leader. Lollies don't lead our government and military, but guys like Guts do. People who can enact calculated bouts of aggression because conflict is inevitable. This feeling that you miss something while reading is a horrible feeling, and it's amplified when you know you have to go back to reread. A similar feeling in your feet when you are trying your hardest to keep your balance, but you can feel yourself falling over. The deafening heart pounding accompanied by the tingles under your feet. I could be being too hard on this manga because folks even said One Piece, one of the greats, was paced horribly during the beginning, but now over 100 volumes and 1,000 chapters later, it was paced that way for a reason from the beginning, because Osaka wasn't really just building a manga, but really a lore following a band of pirates. In other words, a lot of info and progression has to be dished out to entice you to read this long tale through to its conclusion. There were some panels during the fighting scene in chapter 66 where I was like, what the fuck is going on, bruh? A Loki wanted to call my primary care to see if I was clinically retarded or something. I needed a map, bro. I was lost. I was lost here too in chapter 61 though. I could be nitpicking. How did she generate the necessary power to deliver that heavy ass kick? Of course, a lot of these things would become clearer when it's animated, but the mark of a great mangaka is to flesh out things so clearly on paper that it does not need to be animated. It's cool to anticipate the animation of a manga, but not to need it. Then in chapter 70, one of Quan Chi's friends, Cosmo, uses a Madara level genjutsu when she fights a Doll Devil user. It's a cool concept, like once you understand everything, you now understand nothing and become unintelligible. A great way to sum up my experience while reading this at some points. And I know I sound like a hater. This nigga hater. Fuck this nigga, dislike. But hey, I'm speaking facts. The gun fiend talking over Aki and fighting Denji in chapter 77 wasn't as impactful because one, the series moved too quick for us to really bond with the characters, and shit, the events moved too fast for even them. It was just chapter 72 when Aki showed that he really cares for Denji, a nigga who really can die, and Power, a fiend who has caused him a lot of issues until this point. Aki is hallucinating the whole time, but this shit is subpar. Though I do like the irony here because Aki was like Eren, he hated the opposition because they were in some way responsible or directly responsible for the loved one's deaths. It's also cool, well, a better word would be shocking, when Aki says in his hallucination, but now my life has finally gotten kind of fun. Because he, in his delirium, is having fun bringing about the same atrocities that got him here. A boy once set on avenging his family's deaths. A boy once set on slaughtering the Gun Devil. But irony within a story that was so haphazardly put together doesn't really matter. It could be just me, where every aspect of the story has to make sense for me to vibe with it. This may also be the reason why I don't fuck with One Punch Man, because it feels like a comic a mangaka drew mindlessly on the corner of their notebook when they got bored. It lacks finesse. There's a power scaling nightmare of a series. This series can also be that. A series you're not meant to take too seriously, but something to just sit down and read and enjoy. Turn your mind off and laugh at morbid jokes and gasp at these suicide missions. It's not fun watching people fight for their lives when they don't even value them anyway. Like, sometimes I sat there and thought, what am I reading? Because even impactful moments will fall short if these stakes are not even respected. Stakes are important in every series or every story. It's usually what gives characters drive within a plot. I can't let my comrades die, or I can't lose this match, or we'll be kicked out of this tournament. But in this motherfucker, they like, let's fight and die. Like, what? The only ones who actually enjoy their job are the extreme freaks who either can die or have certified hands. But it's a big fuck you to everyone else. But back to our little battle with Denji and Aki. Yeah, Aki truly got hoed, and shocker, the Future Devil was right. Denji did take him down. The Future Devil is funny. He like a genie. He don't tell all the info. When he said Denji would be the cause of Aki and Power's death, he left room for the imagination of not only Aki, but the angel to ponder on how Denji will kill Aki, which leads them to think that Denji will come after Aki, but it was much the opposite, of course, for it was Aki who knocked on Denji's door. The angel suggested to run far away, but we know, looking at the chain of events, that would not have been possible. Aki was a gun fiend after all. Aki didn't run from the danger. He said, I am the danger.
I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
Cool twist, but still didn't make up for all the other flaws in how this conflict was presented. In chapter 80, I understand why Denji may feel a type of way about Aki's death, because he was so deprived of deep relationships growing up, so he truly saw both Aki and Power as friends. Shit, honestly his best friends, because before he hung out alone with Pochita, the chainsaw dog, but it It was funny in chapter 80 seeing Makima be so nice and cute, messing with her dogs and shit. But now I know what she truly is, you know. Now another important character is killed off, which further desensitizes you to these deaths. People had the same gripes about Attack on Titan in its infancy. The sentiment was that AOT tries too hard to be merciless and killed off his main cast too early and too easily, resulting in unimpactful deaths and rushed character development, specifically for Eren. A lot of people said it was bad writing to kill characters off this way because it seemed like a lot of these forgotten characters died only to fuel Eren's rage and disgust towards Titans and the world around him, radicalizing them into this heartless monster that would stop at nothing to ensure the safety of Paradise. So I guess not a monster, but kind of a hero in a sense. Rumbling for the win. Anyway, I never agreed with the sentiment for AOT, because here character deaths weren't a plot device at all, but just a matter of fact. What do you expect from a guild of battered heroes fighting gargantuan man-eaters? In other words, it makes sense and it would be more unrealistic if people weren't dropping like flies. In Chainsaw Man's case though, I definitely saw it as a cheap plot device to kill off so many characters so soon, trying too hard to show that this is a gruesome, ruthless, wicked world. Like we didn't already get that from the fact that this nigga got one nut. And niggas lose body parts from their devil contracts. Niggas were mutilating themselves just to be on equal footing with the devils they encountered. This show is so over the top and random. Like, imagine losing your dick fighting like the lust devil or some shit, and you end up never need to losing your dick. You can't fuck your wife no more, and she like steps out on you. Very tough. I know both your devil that you had a contract with and the op devil, the person you're fighting, were laughing at the irony, taking turns calling you a fool and shit. You know how they be on like anime and shit. Bye, you fool. You know, shit like that. In the most recent chapters, chapter 98 to 103, the pacing has gotten a whole lot better, making the read much more enjoyable. If the story keeps at the pace it's currently at, then it can make up for its prior shortcomings. Again, they did something kind of Bleach-esque, you know, slice of lifey, a cool situation where the neighborhood superhero is also a local high school student, you know, worrying about what we all worried about in high school, adding more merit to what made the series already brilliant, Denji's relatability. Denji's motive for being this vigilante is to have lots of sex. Nice. I feel you, my boy. But again, thanks for watching. Kiss your left cheek, slapping the right. I'll see y'all when I see y'all, man.
When this is over.